Hello, I am going to be covering the issue of race in America, basically. And this issue that we've been having with intrinsic race, inequality, and police brutality, ongoing, just seeming like it's ramping up and getting worse every day. And I think from the pandemic, and then from having most definitely Donald Trump stirring up hatred of various minorities, or towards various minorities, to try to just create havoc. He's just a saboteur, as I said. And we're still dealing with it. And I think that when you get somebody in place to finally deal with it, it kicks up a fuss before it really gets effectively changed. And I think that is where we are at. But I want to make sure, because I am sick and tired of every day hearing that, oops, I thought, I was grabbing my taser. It's awfully coincidental that, that may be a fact, but I have to think, I'm suspicious, I have to say, that somewhere deep down inside, because I don't know her, does she have some real fear of black people? Would she have done that with a white person? I'm looking at the thinking of the Dante Wright case now. But I want to ask the creator, the source of wisdom and truth and love, unconditional love for all. If we as a nation, America, are finally going to sort out and throw out this framework that allows and indeed encourages people in power to abuse their power and mistreat and create for the division and equality. And so that forces like the police are not a hot pot of corruption that gets covered up and never gets really properly sorted out. We've seen that. It's just you rarely see the police being held to account. So let's see what we get. Now, I think Derek Chauvin is definitely going to get held to account. But I feel like the greater issue, and I'm going to have to read on it because of my own cynicism, and that is, I feel like, is it just because Derek isn't well liked and the police are willing to throw him under the bus as a token, get off my back? We finally prosecuted one of our own that deserved to be. I gotta tell you, that's where I come from, so I'm gonna need the cards a heck of a whole lot so I can be objective. So let's just see. Are things going to really change so that we're not going to be having black people and people of color routinely shot and killed for traffic stops and stupid things? Okay, so let's see. And I'm using the Mystic Mondays tarot deck. Alright. We get the Emperor. So straight off the get-go, we're talking about power and having that much power and that much authority. And it takes a very mature, and that's one of the reasons why the emperor is typically shown as and referred to as an older man. You know, somebody who actually is around in their 50s, typically, from what I gather, you know, at least, if not older. But this is someone who's been around the block, and it's supposed to be, ideally, that they would have this knowledge. And it's a masculine energy, of course. It is the male archetype, and it's supposed to be dignified. It's the husband, it's the father. And these are husbands and fathers that they are killing. And some that never get the chance to be. But this to me right now is speaking more, because I am asking about the future of the policing and its problem with being just too open to abuse of power, and especially people that have deep-seated, or even maybe unbeknownst to them, some sort of race issue. You know, they got some sort of problem. Crossing is the Empress. Now that is interesting. We get the archetype that comes in and says the problem here is a lack of compassion. Darn it, I hate hitting that. Is the lack of compassion. There's a lack of balance. It's too aggressive. There's too much force. It's too exclusively testosterone based. There needs to be, this is the challenge, there needs to be the allowance of a much more empathetic, nurturing source to come in, so that the policing isn't just cold and brutal, and that is this terse, rough manner is allowed as being the way to do things, that this is who is leading you at the helm. And it's not to say that this is Betty Crocker coming in, you know. No, this is just saying that this is the compassion. And I believe also the changes that need to come forward that in this situation. They're all based on a need for heart, and a need for empathy, a need for compassion, and to truly care for the community, like a mother and a father, or if you don't identify as this, as a parent. So we're looking at the need for a force that is more compassionate and balanced, and not so run by men, and particularly certain ill-dignified men that abuse their power, and who give a great big blanket for others to hide under should they do something. So there needs to be more transparency, honesty, empathy, compassion, and it needs to be just as much in power as the hard-headed, tough guy. And really, the tough guy needs to be released, because this needs to be mature people that are much more broad in how they train and what they train their officers, how to respond and how to think about things. There's a lack of compassion, straight up. 3 of Cups is at the base. And to me, this is dealing with the public, people out, crowning is the King of Pentacles. Okay. This could be someone that is, because it's a court card, it could be someone that will be heading any kind of change that is brought in to be implemented. I'm getting possibly 3 with that 3 of Cups also. Card shifted. I'm getting 3, and it's making me feel like there's other people that will, of course, head this. But it looks to me like there will be, looking at maybe selecting somebody new to head of task force or to change things. In the recent past is the Ace of Wands, and this is the beginning of activity. So it looks like they've already begun to actually create some ideas with regard to how to change this system. That's very hopeful, because now I see the female aspect being connected to a recent past of a new beginning. And I feel like there's a more inclusive look going on here. So they're aware of it. There needs to be different diversity in the representing in the officers, and there needs to be that respect as a basis that officers should have for others different than themselves. And in the near future, we get the Page of Wands. So we get that beginning initiation of energy. They're beginning to develop it. Also, another thing that comes to mind is we've had like 2 or 3 now, the last 3 cases going on. And I feel like there's going to be investigations, of course, into these cases and into this activity, into this brutality. Yes, and there is the public again, you know, because we have a significant populace that is terrified, and rightly so, in my estimation. If I were them, I'd feel, I can't say I wouldn't feel differently, of dealing with the police. All it takes is one person that has an issue to go off and take someone's life. And it happens. It's happening way too often. So these people got to be afraid to have to live each day, go places. There's got to be this constant anxiety. In the environment is the Six of Cups. This is dealing with the past. It can be about a nostalgia, but to me, it is that this is a past issue that's never been sorted out. We've not, learned from Trayvon Martin. They've continued, and the police force has not been changed. And it needs to be coast to coast. This cannot just be state to state. It has to be a federally mandated change, in my opinion. The hope and fears. Well, the fear is that they will continue to have too much power without enough oversight, and be able to be smug and think that they can get away with it. The other hope would be to have satisfaction that it would change and be changing significantly. But let's just see, the outcome is the Page of Cups. There's going to be some surprises, more surprises here that we don't expect. This feels more I feel like this is about listening to children, listening to this, how the children feel that are seeing what they're seeing today. I do. I really feel like it's like we'll be surprised, but we need to listen to what, I mean, these kids, we didn't have to have all these different lockdowns. Like for us, it was tornadoes and whatever, fire. Where I was at growing up in the Midwest. But this feels like looking into the future, more expansion, but an expansive look, also a more developed look and awareness with regard, I feel like, to children, to this generation, and how this affects children. There's something along these lines. And we will get it going in a better direction. Here is that Six of Swords, the card I was wanting to see. It's going to be a little further into the future, but I think definitely this year and into the next, we are going to see significant strides of change that we can really say it's changed. We are not there yet, however. Okay, but I do see it, and that's good. Let me get another card to go with it. And that's the King of Wands. I feel like there is a male that is actively overseeing or guiding this. And I feel like that he's given to head this sweeping change. But he has the energy, the stamina, and the interest and the drive to do it. Or it could be a woman who will oversee it, be overseeing changes. I think that is a real possibility that will be named to head some sort of group to change and restructure things. And I see she's a good person for the task, and I get that because this is a positive card here of moving forward out of a really stressful, dramatic time and choppy water. Yeah, and the Ten of Cups and the King of Swords. I feel like there's 3 people that are going to make a significant impact in changing the way that the police operate and how they handle things. And I definitely see, I think, a woman heading something. She looks to be like a fire sign. Although it could be a man, but I think it could be a woman in charge of heading something very significant to lead change in this area. And there's looking at children. There's also some things that are a bit of a surprise yet down the road to come around. And it could be just the news will be a bit of a surprise. And I see that there's a woman that's going to move us into a more positive, happier direction. I feel like there's a male that assists her in this vision that they have to create change And there is justice. Look at that. So we are dealing with law enforcement and the justice system and the hermit. This is about wisdom. And this is wisdom that knows about diversity, because the hermit travels far and beyond the usual persons. They have seen and gone places. Usually this person it's about a journey. It can be where you just really examine things. There is thoughtfulness, mindfulness, and wisdom. So I feel like this is also, maybe the hermit might be being used to say it's going to be headed by people that are wise and experienced. And diverse. Rather than so also where the police are so disconnected from community. That's a real feeling here. I think there need to be more, like personally, and I think a lot of people have said this, more police on the beat so that they can create a rapport with people. There's a disconnect. I also feel there. Yeah, 9 of Wands. And the 4 of Pentacles. Look at that, the locks on that 4 of Pentacles. This is someone who is very afraid that someone's going to take something of theirs. And so they automatically come from a place of fear. You can see that, and I find it kind of definitely indicated in this card of people that get a bit precious. And this is, with the 9 of Wands, going through a lot of ordeals out of, I think, people calling the police, and then people like Trayvon, who end up dying. Of course, George thought he was whatever he thought he was. He thought he was some kind of policeman. I still do not understand why he is out. He should never have been getting out. There's a very, very real problem. So there's that feeling of that kind of mentality, and that's why I'm bringing him up here with this 4. It's that fear, that automatic fear. And this needs to be dealt with. And so it looks like that does come up as an issue. The 7 of Cups, this delusion, and it is about getting a realistic understanding and clearing away confusion and cover-ups and things that are not true, and that is being more transparent. And the 6 of Pentacles has to do with receiving help. And to me, this is speaking about, we need a mental health task force. When I look at these two together now, I feel like somebody has a problem with their mental health and they need help from the outside. They cannot help themselves. They are not well enough to help themselves. They are too deluded to help themselves. So there needs to be help from the outside. And that certainly is true with people that don't think white folks have privilege, and just don't see it. They're blind. They're deluded. They can't see it. And there really, at this point, does need to be an outside hand to come in and help to clear away this confusion and delusion. And so, yeah, I think they're going to need to vet their people a heck of a lot better and be keeping in check with them and be, learning about how they're conducting themselves. And if they shut off their cameras, there should be consequences. They should be actively reprimanded and properly dealt with. Here is the tower. Because the structure stinks, it needs to be rebuilt. And that many people will panic. They will think that you're going to throw everything away. And it's no, we're going to throw out what's useless. What's useless is broken and crumbling already. And we're just going to get on with it so that we can move forward and build something that's actually deals with this problem. It will still have, and I still see some really significant, as we are going toward this, creating this change, I feel like there will be other instances that just confirm why we need to change it. And this indicates the end of a long period of overkill, of brutality, and dysfunction, and falsehood, and abuse of power. It's going to come down so it can be rebuilt. Here's the Two of Cups. This is a balanced, compassionate perspective, and also one, I think, that includes things for people that are having emotional, mental health crisis with those cups. There's more compassion. And the Page of Swords, I think, also means there's going to be more oversight and keeping clear about people following procedure, following the training that they've been given. And I feel like this is a new education, psychology, awareness, that the officers will have more in-depth training in. This is study to me as well. Different training courses for those in training to be an officer. And there's clarity. There's the sun. There will be a transformation and transparency. There has to be transparency. And look, sun and the moon. So when you get this card, these two cards together, there will be that which was hidden exposed. And so it will have to be done so that people fully can accept why it has to be so radically changed, or why it is crumbling, what we're seeing. And I believe that we will be given understanding and awareness to the dysfunction that we were not aware of, and how corrupt, how it enabled abuse of power, people that are not meant to have that kind of authority, can't deal with that kind of authority in a humane way. That will be exposed. And that's what we need. And we are going towards this. And where people are so anxious and scared and afraid of police, we have to deal with that. And the Ten of Pentacles means becoming a part of the environment and the society so that people get to know you, just like they would an extended community. The people that work at the grocery store down at the shop on the corner, and the officers that you tend to see and respond and help you, it feels better, and it feels like there will be better equipped people who are much better trained to handle this. And it looks way like it will be a lot more friendly here than where before there was anxiety. I get a sense of, oh yeah, that's so-and-so, they're in the community. It feels much more relaxed. You can see the body language is totally different. And this deals with, when we deal with the rings of the tree, this deals with time, significant spans of time that go by. Well, there's been certainly a significant span of time going by where people have, of color have felt particularly afraid of the police. But I see that this is indicative of there's a change coming with regard. And the 8 of Wands speak of activity picking up. And the High Priestess says, and that's all you're going to get to see. There's some of this you're not going to be privy to, but there's activity that needs to play out and that is not fully kind of lined up yet, because people have free will. Things can go different ways. So this is also an indication of that. It hasn't played out yet. It's not been revealed. But there's an activity that will be going on, I think, with regard to establishing better rapport in the community that does not trust the police, and actively doing things. I see activities that are not just every now and again, but on the regular. And this could be having more officers assigned to areas where they get to know the community better. Yeah, here's the Hierophant. This is teaching and training and wisdom. It's also tradition and strength. But I think this is kind of the old school idea of being heavy-handed. It has to give way to a new school of compassion first, no matter what, in dealing with somebody that's out of control. Even if they're powerful, even if they're on drugs, whatever way. It's not about judging that person. It's about getting the threat that they are creating to stop. And judging them, sure, afterward. But you know what I'm saying? It's not about like thinking, oh, it's one of them, or it's one of those damn druggies, or it's a person of color and they're like this, and I already have a preconceived notion, is what I'm trying to say. It's coming from a much more, okay, what's going on here? Somebody's out of control. We don't want them to hurt themselves or anyone else. This is the kind of maturity that they're going to need. And I see that they will bring that in by having, I feel like, a more diverse bunch who are calling the direction in which people are trained and what they're trained. And I feel like that's going to be people that identify as men, women, hopefully trans, and otherwise, because they need this diversity. They need people from the LGBTQIA community in law enforcement to help deal with, they know better, they know how to handle, as well as people in the Black community and the various minorities need to be represented. So I'm feeling that with these cards that I'm being shown, because the King of Pentacles in this deck is being shown as a woman, and or feminine. There's a feminine aspect also. So it's blended. It's making me feel like there's a variety of kind of people. And this king has a feminine aspect. So I'm just feeling more diversity in what they're being taught, and about the community that they're being taught, so that if they come from a small community where they're not used to being around people that are really different than a very typical cis, white, whatever, they're going to be learning about diversity. I'm getting that. For sure. And I'm feeling that with the Three of Pentacles, where there's been a lack of, and this, we've all heard about this, the lack of ability to work within different precincts working with each other, and communities of law enforcement. They need to learn to work together. They have to work on that too, to work better together. That they're not all separate. They are a whole team and part of a team working together. So this goes on, and I see that it's good. I see that this is what is being seen, identified, as needing to be implemented and brought in. And I see that and feel that there are going to be women heading significant positions to bring in these changes, as well as it's going to be a more diverse community bringing in these changes within the policing. And I feel like we're going to have more community-based models. And this is stepping away from this constant grieving with the Five of Cups. Moving on to something better now. So we will. It'll take time. Yeah, there's the Fool. It's a new start. And Two of Pentacles. And I do see it will take time. I'm thinking, some years to get this underway. But I see us going towards it now. And I believe we will tinker with it so that we can get it on course and quickly as possible. And I see us doing that. And it, juggling. It'll be, balance, an issue of balance. King of Swords, Queen of Pentacles. And I see people who are very sensible and very grounded, yet open-minded and willing to work together and to create more community aspect that works more proficiently and that people feel more comfortable with. That will be really nice. And I see that being as more the norm. So I'm going to leave this reading on the future of changes in America with its policing, and I say yes, 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 and I'm very happy to see that. Very happy to see that. And so watch that space, folks. Keep an open mind. Try to set aside your jaded cynicism like mine, because I do see the cards show it coming in. If you enjoy my content, please make sure that you're subscribed. Double check. Hit the notification bell and share. Thanks.